All right, everyone, welcome back. My next guest, he's a busy man, busy on multiple fronts, not just because of his investigative journalism, because the content that goes into his writings, of course, is being written every single day. He's an American podcast host, an author, an entrepreneur, a political activist. He was born in Oakland, California. He's a father, born to an American father, that is, and a British mother. He spent part of his childhood in the UK. And I want to kind of dig into that a little bit. I'm sure he's done some research about how we've been really captured on multiple levels by the British Crown. But professionally, Ian Trottier founded a parking solutions company called iPark in 2007, which he later sold to a New York operator. He has minor acting credits, including roles in projects like Jim Thorpe, the world's greatest athlete, and he's done appearances on shows such as Trauma and the World's Astonishing News. He's best known as the host of an independent podcast and a radio program launched in Miami in 2016. And he's the author of High Stakes Treason, How John Brennan Compromised American Security for Millions. And he joins me right now to do a lot of things. There's a lot to talk about. Ian, welcome back. How are you? Oh, hold on one second. Well, how are you? Welcome.
Yeah, it's been it's good to be back. It's good to talk to you. And I think the last time you and I spoke, I had my intelligence source with me. I had the FBI agent that submitted the information to me.
Yeah,
with me. It's been. I don't think the book was even printed yet, right? It's been that long, right, Pete?
Yeah, it was right before it was printed. That's exactly right. And I picked it up. And I mean, I hate to say it, but you're going to have to publish another one pretty quickly here because of our current circumstances. I mean, there's so much more. If you don't mind, I just want to come right out of the gates and you take your time. You're the subject matter expert in this area of John Brennan. I really consider you to be. You've done great research. You're one of the few that have picked up a lot of the details that I've collected bits and pieces over the years. But let me ask you something. Are you concerned that this guy is still able to operate as powerfully as he is? He's operating on the outside of the fourth branch of government, isn't he, right now?
Yeah, so this is what's really interesting. Last week, the two developments came my way that were quite shocking. Patrick Byrne, who's perhaps you've spoken to him, know him. Yes. He's been a guest on Discussions of Truth on my podcast. He's a really great guy from what I know. I've met him, right? And so he was joining Alex Jones a week ago, about a week ago. So I think it was the 9th of December, whatever that is. And he told Alex something that caught my interest, and that was that Ratcliffe is basically a muse. That's not the term he used, but Ratcliffe is not in charge.
Yeah.
And he specifically said that John Brennan is still running the CIA. That's what Patrick Byrne, the former CEO of Overstock, said. A Cambridge graduate, Stanford graduate, said to Alex Jones. Now, he followed that up, and I don't know what the order was, but this is the order I received the information from, was that Emerald Robinson, I believe is her name, and she works with Lindell TV. She's an anchor at Lindell TV.
Yeah.
She was interviewing Patrick, and she told Patrick, Pete, that he organized the Russian.
You're not a child, you're a man. So stop wearing so many layers to go outside and get the Bearskin Tactical Hoodie 4.0, the 10-pocket tactical micro fleece hoodie that blocks wind, repels rain, and regulates heat for incredible comfort wherever you are. Because the average hoodie made these days is weak, flimsy, and has one weird kangaroo pocket in the front. And listen, you're not a kangaroo.
Collusion hoax with John Brennan. This was a week ago, Pete. Patrick Byrne said he organized the Russian collusion with John Brennan. Now, very interesting is that a few days later, Rob Reiner was murdered. Now, here's the real interesting connection to that. The reason I bring up Rob Reiner is because as viewers and listeners dig into Rob Reiner, they will find that Rob Reiner interviewed Clapper and Brennan in 2017 about the Russian involvement. Okay, he was actually in on the Russian collusion. Rob Reiner was. That's a whole other subject, of course, because Nick James has killed his parents. But is there a coincidence there? I suspect there probably is not. The Obamas were supposed to be meeting with Reiner. The Obamas have their own production company and their own deal with Netflix. And Reiner is the founder of Castle Rock Entertainment, and Castle Rock is known to have mock White House sets. I don't know how involved he was, but my mind, of course, goes to QAnon.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this because what you just stated, people are like, "Oh, come on! What do you mean, Rob Reiner?" Blah blah blah. Hold on one second. Stand by. I'm going to put this on the screen, and I'm going to show you something. The committee to investigate Russia. Okay, Rob Reiner was a member. Okay, along with Leon Panetta, right? Mike Morrell, right? General Michael Hayden, James Clapper, Max Boot, and here's Rob Reiner as an advisory board member for investigating Russia. So that documentary that they did, it was a Russia collusion that we know that it was all against President Trump. It was all it was a falsity. But he was a propagandist working for the intel services, Brennan and Clapper. He's sitting right with them. He was actively involved. He wasn't just a patriotic American that, wanted his political party to win or his ideology. No, he was an active participant in the coup d'etat, period. Rob Reiner was, right? Yeah,
and this goes much deeper because I was actually living in San Francisco, Pete, and this is when I was working as an extra on Trauma, the NBC series. It was like a season, and San Francisco was just Gavin Newsom was the mayor, Kamala Harris was the attorney. San Francisco was going to shambles as far as I'm concerned when I was living there. But what's really interesting is that there was a proposition called Proposition 8 back in I can't recall the exact year, but this is about 2010, something like that. And Proposition 8 was about defining marriage between a man and a woman. Again, I don't have a problem with anybody who has a homosexual lifestyle. I think it's up to anybody's liberty and individual choices. But me personally, I was outspoken then as an activist about marriage being defined by the government as being between man and woman. That has to do with the ability to reproduce, right? Biological. It doesn't have anything to do with fostering children and raising children. I'm just saying, that was my viewpoint. So Reiner was involved in the organization of what happened after the vote in California. After the people voted to define marriage between men and women in California, that later got reversed by, my understanding, a Kamala Harris-led organization that overturned it in the courts, deeming it unconstitutional. Well, how can that be? The people spoke in California, and then it gets overturned in the courts, and Reiner was involved with that. It seems, I haven't dug into it, it seems like he was involved with that. We could call it Kamala Harris. So Reiner is involved in this California-based apparatus to totally swing it left, going much further back into Russia and into this Russian collusion thing. Yeah. And the reason I bring that up is because these are political tactics that have been used, in my opinion, to install communist-type policies. Let's just say socialist-type policies.
Yes.
But yes, Rob Reiner said this, and Patrick Byrne, Patrick Byrne mentioned those two things just a few days prior. What is happening right now?
I do need to add something because I'm. By the way, I was an adversary of Patrick Byrne's at one point in time. We knocked horns one time. We came back together. He has shared a lot. Okay. He's shared everything with me. He's never ever failed to answer any of my questions. So I've worked with him over the years. But I do want to say this. He did work early on the Russia collusion thing. But guess what? It could have been Marco Rubio. It could have been Ted Cruz. This was before President Trump rose to prominence. That they made it cookie cutter that any Republican that was going to emerge they were going to have that Russia collusion thing stick on them. So he did say that, and he figured that out as things were going. So Patrick Byrne was not setting out to like attack President Trump on the Russia collusion thing, but he knows full well that thing was just a complete and total hoax. But it was interchangeable. Any Republican that would have won, and they hedged by having him bribe Hillary Clinton. That since she was going to win, he was to set something up so that they could have leverage over her. And thank God he's exposed all of this. So I appreciate him putting himself on the line to do that. So I will say that.
I know you had something here, Pete, and this is a good point that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't necessarily attacking Trump. They were attacking, that political agenda.
Yes.
In 2006, Patrick Byrne is recruited by the CIA, and he's recruited by an individual named David S. Cohen, and that's surmised based on the information that Patrick has stated recently. David S. Cohen was part of OFAC at the U.S. Treasury, and later David S. Cohen became the number 2 for John Brennan in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So number 2 for John Brennan had brought Patrick Byrne into the CIA as a CIA asset back in 2016. That's why this is what's critical here in regards to this book that I've just released called High Stakes Treason, because David S. Byrne would have been working for the Treasury when a critical defense contractor for this country holding critical national intelligence called the Analysis Corporation, it got swallowed up by a British financial management company that it was domiciled by the CCP in Hong Kong, and the name of that company is called Sotera Defense Solutions. The prior name of that company started back in the 1990s that John Brennan was the president of, and he used that database, that information, to manipulate National Counterterrorism Center, the NCTC information. Cohen would have been part of the approval process of selling the Sotera Defense Solutions. Again, that was formerly named the Analysis Corporation, TAC.
Yep.
So this is where the entire premise, Pete, of High Stakes Treason is that John Brennan not only illegally held stocks in this company. It's a complete conflict of interest. Norm Eisen signed an ethics waiver. He said he'd be converting the stocks into the 401k. That did not happen. And what we know is that he enriched himself just to the shy of $5 million at the critical, right, at allowing terror activity to happen. That's the allegation. That's what we know with John Brennan, an admitted communist and a convert, according to John Guandolo of an FBI, a former FBI agent, a convert to not only Islam, but a very radical sect, the most radical sect of Islam, Wahhabism. That is the man. That is the man that became the head of the CIA under Barack Obama. And it looks like right now, that facade that those folks created is coming on.
Japanese Ozempic is quietly shaking the weight loss industry. This strange method, first whispered about in Japan.
It looks like it very possibly could be.
Yeah, let me.
Some interesting connections.
Okay, now that's a great lead up to. Now I'm just going to be your typical angry American. We've had Tulsi Gabbard release information that if any one of us had participated in what she has revealed, that we would be brought up. And if there was more than one of us, we'd be brought up for conspiracy. These people have not been held to account. Do you think that they're going to, or do you think that they're just immune from prosecution, that they won't be held accountable?
Yeah, the problem really is for Patrick, right? So for Patrick to come out and be able to say that type of thing and then not be in court, he has said that could be a possibility. I think the layers.
No, I'm talking about Brennan not getting arrested. Tulsi Gabbard revealed that Barack Obama was involved in the grand conspiracy with John Brennan, with James Clapper, all these people. They have conspired to overthrow the United States of America, and nobody's been brought up. By the way, Patrick Byrne has immunity for everything that he does. You know that, right? His magic letter he got from...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a Senate committee. He has absolute immunity to investigate the deep state. There was a select few in the U.S. Senate that gave him that immunity letter. It exists. It's been seen. It's been verified. So any of his participation in conducting an undercover investigation, including of the CIA, he has immunity. But
wow.
But these people, are you amazed that John Brennan, he's the target and the subject of your book, is still running around a free man? Are you amazed?
There's absolutely no doubt about it. There's actually, of course I am. Pete, I spent in October. I self-financed. I took 100 copies to the Hill. I walked the halls of the Longworth, the Rayburn House, and then I went over to the Senate. And I distributed copies of this book that's right there on my shoulder. And there's 100 copies of this in various offices. Both Democrat and Republicans, and I'm working. Initially, I got I had a few meetings, and it's simply very, very difficult to get any one person really, any one person in Congress to pay attention to this. And I don't know if it's because it's fringe and people are simply just kind of hoodwinked. And they, it's just kind of like it's far out there where they don't even want to go there. But it's very difficult. It's, you've been doing your show since 2011. You've got to push. There's a guy named Thomas Especially. And by the way, I spent a week and a half in D.C.
That guy's one of my heroes.
What?
Especially, he's one of my heroes. He confronted Brennan. He's a better man than I am. If I got that close to Brennan, I would have ripped his esophagus out of his neck, which is why I don't go near him, right? Yeah.
So for listeners that may not know, there's this panel discussion that happened, I guess, a month and a half ago, and it's George Mason, Hayden, who's on that list that you just read, is sitting 2 chairs over from John Brennan, and it seemed like there were 4 people on the panel. Thomas Speciale, a NCTC analyst, a National Counterterrorism Center analyst, stands up after the discussion. He asks questions, which is had a Q&A session, and he asks them about the emails that were released by Gabbard. John Brennan, on the video, calls it BS and disinformation. Furthermore, at the after party, Especially confronts Brennan. I got it again. And Brennan literally physically poked this man in the chest.
Oh, yeah.
And, about it being disinformation. Dude, this isn't disinformation, man. And Pete, this book came out mid-July. It happened that Steve Bannon was the first person I joined. I joined War Room. I spoke about it a little bit. I think I confused I confused him a lot, but he brought me back on. And as you know, Roger Stone has written the forward on this on this book. But it's been out. The more this thing circulates, the more people. Let me share this quote with your viewers, Pete. I just got this last night. Okay, and I have no idea who this person is. I had done an interview a few days ago with CloudHub. And this was a comment made on that video, and I'll read it for your viewers. It's very interesting, and this is what I'm talking about. People are starting to connect the dots based on the information in this book. He says, "I'm in the middle of reading your book right now, Ian, and I can't help but to notice that the NCTC is the fusion cell of fusion cells. And keep in mind, John Brennan, per an executive order of Bush after the 9/11 attacks, John Brennan is the architect. He engineered, he put together, it's his baby. He put together the NCTC. That was John Brennan, okay? So he's describing this as the NCTC as the fusion cell of fusion cells, something that Brennan seemed to be very protective of, and I couldn't figure out why. That's what this person writes. He couldn't figure out why. The reason this interests me is because I couldn't understand why they went after Michael Flynn, and no one ever asks him why
why there was animosity between Brennan, Obama, and Flynn. Flynn suggested in 2009 memo called Fixing Intel that these fusion centers be manned by military personnel instead of civilians, Pete. I have a feeling this person says that if his suggestions were followed, the Analysis Corporation, remember, and connected David Cohen to the Analysis Corporation because it was called Sotera Defense. It got changed, the name changed to Sotera Defense Solutions. The attack, the Analysis Corporation, would have been dead in the water. Brennan later reorganized the CIA in 2015, I believe this person says, based on this model. This is critical. And that is probably exactly why Byrne is saying that Brennan is still operating the CIA. I'd have to dig into that a little bit more. But let me continue with this. The host, thanks for letting me talk, Pete. The host, I sent that to Flynn, by the way, and Flynn got back to me, and he thanked me for it. But I also sent that to the host of Cloud Hub. And Todd responds to me, and he says this. He says, Brennan reshaping of the agency could not be a more important subject. That's talking about the 2015 reshaping the CIA under the premise that this other person just mentioned. He has caused a civil war inside our government and within the whole Five Eyes global intel community. I mean, this is what the American people, I think, are beginning to understand. And the information, the documentation, the 106 pages of an appendix of this book released to the public through Post Hill Press, their imprint called Bombardier. And Anthony, who's the CEO of Post Hill, of course, is taking a huge risk. I'm taking a huge risk. Everybody's taking a huge risk. The information source. But it is spot on, Pete. And this right here, because it's open sourced information, because there's nothing classified, the information in this book will bring, if we approach this properly, and I believe we will, it will bring John Brennan down.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so because let me share something with you. Just add this to your database. And I put this. I had to put this out publicly because she got taken out. You know who Lindsay Halligan is, right?
No.
Lindsay Halligan is the U.S. attorney that brought the Comey indictment. President Trump sent her, got rid of that U.S. attorney, sent Lindsay Halligan. She brought the Comey indictment, right?
Okay. Yeah.
She's the U.S. attorney, right? I reached out to Lindsay Halligan, U.S. attorney, and I basically provided information to her office and said, you know, that's basically what you have Comey on is a parking ticket. Here's information.
Careful with this nerve relief ritual that's going viral. Several of my patients have tried it, and after
James Comey and his FBI were using the system in Fort Washington, Maryland with Brennan, Clapper, the Analysis Corporation, private contractors to surveil Americans, you know, for many, many years. And I have all of the data. And the FBI contacted me on October 13th. I gave the FBI all of my information. That would have allowed them to supersede the indictment. 1 week after I did that, Comey's indictment was removed and Lindsay Halligan was disparaged, interestingly enough. Hopefully this information goes down to, are you aware of what's happening in Florida regarding the grand conspiracy case? Yeah. Is that going? Do you know if that's going?
Supposedly, Jason Quinones, who's the judge that submitted this subpoena to Brennan, supposedly there was already a meeting. I can't confirm that. I don't know. But what I do know is this, Pete, is that after the week and a half I spent in D.C., I went into Jordan's office. I dropped a copy of this off with his legislative director. I don't know if Jim saw the copy or not, and I don't know if he's seen it to this day. But I do know that after I left D.C., within days, Jim Jordan, the head of the Judiciary Committee, submitted his letter to the DOJ asking the department to look into John Brennan. And now, of course, out of that South Florida district, there was that subpoena. So there's going to be more information coming down the pipe in regards to
John Brennan and why he lied to Congress. That's why that's why he was subpoenaed a few weeks ago, because Jordan has evidence that he clearly lied to Congress multiple times. So, so that's, we're waiting to see exactly how that unfolds. My push is that Jordan, the Judiciary Committee, press Mr. Brennan on the allegations brought forth in this book, because I've got the receipts. The book has the receipts. We show SEC filing documents. We show White House visitor logs. We show his ability to sequester critical national intel using this unwitting analyst named Michael Jones. We show all of the evidence. And remember, for viewers and listeners to understand, yes, I am the author. Yes, I added to some of the information here, but this is the research. This is the research of a man that spent over a decade working for the FBI that approached me at my podcast table at a CPAC a couple of years ago because he wanted help getting the information out. And keep in mind, at the time, Joe Biden was in office. So he nor I realized and knew who would be winning that subsequent election. We know that Trump won it, and I think that's why the book is circulating. Had Harris won, I don't know. I don't know that the publisher would have had the confidence in submitting and publishing this. But regardless, that's where we're at right now. The book is out, and people need to understand it reads like an FBI report, 428 pages, because the nucleus of all the information was aggregated and data mined is a term that can be used by this FBI agent. Man, Pete, this guy stayed with it year after year after year after year. Because look, we're talking about a time frame between 2009 and 2013, where all the information in this book is presented. I didn't find this guy data mining the information. I didn't find him until 2024. Mm-hmm. I didn't find him until 2024. Now we're having to trace back some of these building blocks that this apparatus used to install and try to produce this Russian collusion, what we now call hoax. But we are going to prove that this happened. This coup d'etat attempt on our Constitution.
No doubt about it. Listen,
this is heavy.
We're live on LFA TV. I want you to tell all of our LFA TV viewers. And by the way, as information comes about, which it will, I want to bring you on because they have to be bringing indictments. Stuff's going to come down the pipe, I'm sure, pretty quickly here. We'll bring it back on. But tell everybody how they can get your book. We have 2 minutes left here on the live stream, and I've got major breaking news. We just launched a strike against Syria. ISIS targets there. That just happened. Some things are happening here. But Ian, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, please go to Amazon right now. Use it as a stocking stuffer. Just type in High Stakes Treason. You can go to highstakestreason.com. I think it requires an HTTPS:// but High Stakes Treason. I've got some great quotes. Bannon, a great author named Mark Shaw. There's some great quotes on there. Buy the book. Get it for a friend. Get it for a family member. If you want a signed copy, you can go to me directly. Just Venmo me, and I'll send you out a signed copy. High Stakes Treason. That's where you can go.
Awesome.
I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, also TikTok.
All right, Ian, thank you for joining